They will never reveal the truth about what remains hidden in the depths of your soul. How the very darkness you have been avoiding your whole life is in fact the key to your greatest strength. Just waiting for someone courageous enough to confront the void and respond with a smile. Most people die without ever discovering what they're truly capable of. They live their entire lives as prisoners of their own programming, slaves to emotions that hijack their nervous system, puppets dancing to strings pulled by trauma they don't even remember. But you're listening to this, which means something in you already knows there's another way, a journey that leads through the valley of your deepest fears and comes out on the other side as something extraordinary, untouchable and unstoppable. The night that altered my existence began just like any other until reality decided to tear away every illusion I had about who I believed I was. In that moment of profound devastation, when the final thread of my old self broke, something else came to life. Something that had been resting in the shadowy corners of my consciousness, feeding on every betrayal, every moment of suffering, every time life forced me down and demanded that I give in. But instead of breaking, I discovered the secret that separates the eternally broken from the unbreakable. Your mind is not reacting to the actual events. It is reacting to the story you tell yourself about those events. And stories can be rewritten in real time, even while the world is burning around you. This insight unleashed something primal and daunting within me, the ability to transform suffering into strength while the wounds were still raw, to confront devastation boldly and murmur, "Reveal the monster you will forge," instead of pleading for compassion like every other soul weighed down by the indifference of existence. What followed was months of deliberate self-destruction and reconstruction, not the gentle therapy they sell to the masses, but something much more hazardous. Cognitive warfare against my own mind's default programming. I created 5 ritualistic practices that rewired my neural pathways as if a programmer were hacking into the very essence of consciousness. The first ritual was prophecy through rehearsal. I would sit in perfect stillness and mentally live through every possible disaster, every betrayal, every moment of potential devastation, until I'd experienced it 1,000 times in simulation. When real chaos finally erupted, it felt like déjà vu, like I was following a script I'd already memorized. The world saw crisis, I saw Tuesday. The second practice involved tactical silence, utilizing the pause between trigger and response. Every impulse to react became an opportunity to study the enemy's strategy, to understand exactly how my buttons were being pushed so I could disconnect the wiring entirely. I discovered how to act from a place of stillness rather than emotion, delivering strikes with surgical precision hours or even days later when the intensity had subsided and only pure strategy was left. The third technique was implanting command phrases deep into my subconscious through repetition until they became second nature. Pain sharpens me. Nothing controls me. I am not reacting. I am rewriting. These mantras became my immune system against emotional infection, activating instantly whenever old patterns tried to regain their control. They became the voice that spoke louder than fear, stronger than doubt, more compelling than the siren song of victimhood. The fourth discipline involved impulse fasting, intentionally depriving myself of the emotions that had dominated my life for so long, observing them squirm and demand attention like addicts experiencing withdrawal. Every impulse to explode, to break down, or to seek validation from others was meticulously recorded and then disregarded for a full 24 hours until the emotional turmoil subsided, allowing me to act from a place of clarity rather than compulsion. I realized that many aspects I believed to be fundamental to my identity were, in fact, parasites thriving on my energy, growing robust from my suffering while persuading me of their necessity for my survival. The fifth and most dangerous practice was emotional archaeology, diving deep into the darkest moments of my past while maintaining complete clinical detachment, studying my own trauma like a forensic investigator examining evidence at a crime scene. I learned to extract wisdom from wounds, to transform memories from prisons into power sources, to mine gold from the deepest veins of my own suffering. This practice required me to become simultaneously the doctor and the patient, the interrogator and the witness, dissecting my own pain with the same ruthless precision a surgeon uses to remove cancer. But here's what they don't warn you about becoming emotionally bulletproof. What all the self-help gurus conveniently forget to mention in their sanitized versions of transformation. The stronger you get, the more isolated you become. Not just from pain, but from everything that makes life worth living. Joy becomes muted, filtered through layers of control. Love becomes strategic, measured, calculated for maximum efficiency and minimum vulnerability. Every interaction carries the weight of your power, and people start relating to you like you're something other than human. Either fearing you like a force of nature, or trying to use you like a weapon, or projecting their fantasies and insecurities onto the myth they think you've become. You realize you've created a perfect prison. Nothing can hurt you, but nothing can truly reach you either. You become a ghost haunting your own life, watching everyone else experience the full spectrum of human emotion while you operate from behind bulletproof glass. Untouchable, but also fundamentally untouched. The very strength that was supposed to free you becomes its own form of bondage, and you find yourself mourning the loss of your own capacity for spontaneous feeling, for genuine surprise, for the beautiful vulnerability that makes connection possible. The real war begins when you discover that surviving what breaks other people was just the tutorial level. The easy part that most people mistake for the entire game. The actual challenge is surviving your own power without letting it consume the humanity you were trying to protect in the first place. Because absolute control is absolutely corrupting, and the line between protector and predator is thinner than a razor's edge, easier to cross than you ever imagined possible. This is where most people fail catastrophically. They think invincibility is the end game, the final boss battle, not realizing it's actually the beginning of the most dangerous phase of the entire journey. You have to choose humanity on purpose rather than by accident. Make the conscious decision to remain connected to your heart even when your mind has become a fortress. You have to remember that emotions aren't the enemy. Unconscious, unfiltered emotions are. You must learn to feel without being enslaved, to extract information from emotional chaos without drowning in it, to remain open to love while staying closed to manipulation. I had to create sacred spaces where I could set down the weapons I'd forged from my own suffering. Pages where I could bleed in ink without judgment, rare presences who could witness my power without flinching and still see me as fundamentally human rather than deity or demon. Because without these carefully guarded anchor points, you drift so far from the shore of ordinary human experience that you forget what warmth feels like, why connection matters, what the point of all this strength was if there's nobody left who can witness it without terror or worship. The code I carved into my consciousness became my salvation, the only thing standing between me and complete sociopathic isolation. Never punish others for your past suffering. Speak only to reveal truth, never to control outcomes. Don't manufacture emotions to manipulate connection. If you lose empathy, you lose everything that makes victory worth achieving. These principles became my leash on the beast I'd created, my compass, when the intoxication of absolute power whispered seductively that I could reshape reality according to will alone, that other people were merely variables in equations I could solve through manipulation and force, that the rules that governed ordinary humans didn't apply to someone who had transcended ordinary human limitations. Now I move through the world like controlled lightning, dangerous but deliberate, powerful but present, carrying this terrible strength like a weapon I can draw when necessary, but choosing warmth and genuine human connection as my default state. Because real mastery isn't being cold under fire. It's being warm by choice while remaining utterly, devastatingly untouchable when circumstances demand it. That combination, monster and human, predator and protector, darkness and light existing in perfect dynamic tension, transforms you from just another broken survivor into something the world has never seen before. Someone who conquered hell and chose to remain an angel anyway. Someone who could destroy everything and everyone but chooses instead to create, to protect, to love with the same intensity they once used to survive. The darkness is still there, coiled like a sleeping dragon in the depths of my consciousness, waiting. But now it serves me instead of consuming me. I've learned to dance with demons without becoming one, to harness the storm without losing myself in its fury, to wield power without being corrupted by it. And that's the real secret they don't want you to know. The truth that would terrify the weak and inspire the strong. Your greatest wound contains your greatest power, but only if you're brave enough to dive deep enough to find it, wise enough to transform it into something beautiful, and strong enough to wield it without being destroyed by its magnitude. The question isn't whether you have this darkness within you. You do. Everyone does. It's part of the human condition, the shadow that follows every soul through existence. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Will you let it consume you from the inside out, or will you learn to make it serve purposes greater than its original design? The choice, as always, is yours.